Nigeria monthly deficits, of course, dropped to 513 billion naira. That is according to the data from the CBN monthly economic report. In the first 2 months, that figure has risen to over 900 billion naira. That is a huge number there. And of course, the crude oil sector took the last chunk of that, over 60%, from over 700 billion it were to a little above 300 billion. Welcome to Business Daily. I am Yusuf Akogo. We take our top stories. Glad to have you back. Now we go straight to the stock market to bring you up to speed with what is happening on the floor. The market is currently on, but we are giving you the data from how the market fared yesterday. And of course, we're going to start with the market snapshot for Thursday. The market closed negative 0.12%, and of course the market capitalization has maintained over 30 billion, 30.5 trillion naira there for market cap, and of course the volume of trade 531.784 million, and of course in terms of value 7.682 billion volume of shares were actually traded on Thursday, and in the deals 6,061 deals actually exchanged hands among investors on Tuesday. Of course, you know, for a very long time the market has been trading positive, but in the last couple of days, about 3 straight days running, the market has gone back to negative territory. Of course, is as a result of profit taking from the fillers we are getting from stockbrokers on the floor. Profit takers are actually doing their business there across various marketing counters. And of course, naturally, when you make an investment, a time will come that you have to reap from your investment. And that is the result of what we are seeing right now, and it's reflecting on the market performance. Of course, we expect that not to last for too long, as the case may be. Quickly, we look at the gainers for the day, and of course, we have the like of Electronic Transaction International. This company traded as the ticker symbol on the Nigerian Stock Exchange as E-Transact. There, the market it gained about 4 naira 84 kobo on the day to close positive at 10%. And of course, E-Transact is one of the company that is very, very popular on the Nigerian market. Currently, the market is currently 41st most valuable stock on the floor, and of course, one of the in terms of the market capitalization is way over 44.5 billion naira, and of course, is rated 0.146 among the equities on NGX. Of course, Japan Gold is also close a positive 44 kobo. It closed there to actually stand at 10%. Of course, Japan Gold started the year way below 30 kobo per share, but it has risen now to over 44 kobo. Of course, if you're an investor in that part of the sector of the market, you'll be smiling to the bank. It closed positive at, of course, 10%. And of course, we look at the Prestige Assurance International, of course, also gaining 44 kobo on the day to close positive there at 10%. And of course, Prestige Assurance also is rated 83rd on the JSE equities marketing table. Of course, we look at the losers quickly. We go to the likes of John Hurt, closing negative there at losing 1 naira 44 kobo to close downward 9.68%. Cavitin Helicopter playing in the aviation sector, closing downward there, losing 1 naira 30 kobo to close downward 7.14%. While Peak Assurance losing 30 kobo there, 43 kobo rather, it lost on Thursday to close negative 6.52%. Interesting, not so good, but again, we expect a rebound from some of these companies. Like we told you earlier, what we are seeing is profit taking from investors of the market. And of course, we are also expecting some foreign investors who have for a very long time now not played in the market to return. The market made a clarion call last week to foreign investors who sold some of their investment and moved out of the country because of what they call uncertainty. They were calling on them to return to the market because it seems like they fear that they expressed before they left, before the elections. That fear has in a way been allayed because many of them thought that the election was not going to be go as easy as it went. But that is clear to everybody to know now that Nigeria can actually handle every situation, no matter how difficult it may seem. We went into that election and we came out stronger, and we have a new government in place. There appear to be quite a whole lot of stability in almost all sectors. The economic stability and the security as well, quite a whole lot is being done in that sector, and that should in a way bring in the investors who consider, the first thing they consider when they are coming into an economy is to consider the security of both their lives and that of their investment, and that is appear to be in a way being taken care of by the new government. And we hope that many of them will return again and make Nigerian market a robust market, one of the leading markets in the West African sub-region, as it has always maintained that position for a very long time. Although in their absence, the local investors were able to, come into the market and keep the market stable to where it is today. Though not so much of investment, according to the NGS, only 0.03% of the money in the Nigerian economy is actually in the capital market. So that is way too low to drive the market. So we expect that in the coming days, months, and of course years, more investment, more Nigerians will get the awareness about the positive or the gains that they will make when they invest their funds in the market. Of course, so if you have any idle funds that you're keeping at home, you're keeping somewhere else, bring them to the stock market. And of course, at the end of the day, you're going to reap the profits from that investment. So we move on to the top trade equities on the day. So we have the like of United Bank for Africa, UBA, that traded over 177 million volume of shares of that company were traded at day. Of course, UBA has been one of the Taiwan bank and one of the high cap stocks in the company. They played key role in the financial market sector of the company. Of course, the Nigerian Police Force Microfinance Bank also doing greatly there. That bank has been there for a very, very long time. But again, it appears that quite a lot of investment is coming there. The police people and, of course, their families and other Nigerians are beginning to take advantage of the low prices of shares in that sector to invest their money. So you see them doing 51.8 million volume of shares of that company exchange hands among investors on Thursday. So we expect that more will happen in the coming days. Of course, Access Bank, another Taiwan bank, has been featuring regularly on this chart for a very long time. 32.1 million volume of shares is traded. Of course, it appears that the banking sector are dominating the marketing sector. Of course, when you look at it, their shares are very, very liquid. And of course, when you invest in the banking sector, some say you see the movement of your money based on the performance of some of these banks. When you look at UBA, it's a Taiwan bank, Access Bank is a Taiwan bank, and of course, Nigerian Police Force Microfinance Bank is becoming a very popular microfinance bank in the country. And of course, for a microfinance bank to be quoted on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, you know that the bank has a very huge capital base to achieve that purpose. So we look at the sector's performance, as the case case may be, of course, the banking sector, like we told you, all of them, all the stocks there that we saw on the top trader are all from the banking sector. UBA, Access Bank, of course, the NPF Microfinance Bank. So the banking sector doing little there, 0.99%, very strong one, almost 1%. Very impressive there. Going to the industrial sector, we had the like of Japo Good that we saw on the on the gainers table, though the sector is down 0.71%. Of course, what you are saying is, like we told you earlier, profit taking. The the consumer goods sector of the segment of the market is also down 0.13% in the negative territory, while the NGS oil and gas maintained the position that it were yesterday, over 1%, while insurance sector is also strong there, 3.97%. Insurance stocks, we call them penny stocks because of the share price of some of those stocks. But again, in a way, these are shares that it depends on the volume that you actually choose to participate in with. It depends on the volume. So once you invest so much, definitely you're going to get very good return. It's a sector that not so many people played in, but again, we hope that insurance sector will do more. Quite a whole lot of insurance company actually doing very well there everywhere across the country, and the awareness around that sector also needs to be more, so that Nigerians who think that the insurance sector is really not a place for them to play in will actually understand that. If you go to the rest of the other part of the world, insurance is very key. When you buy anything, you buy a car, you build a house, whatever you're doing, even your businesses are all insured, so that in case if anything happened to them, you will actually get your property back with equal value as well. So we look at the rest of Africa and see how they are doing. Of course, we have the like of Botswana Stock Exchange closing negative. It seems to be red all over the continent today. Nigeria is red, and of course, we are seeing Botswana down there in Southern Africa with 8,048.31 basis points, down there 0.2% in the negative territory, obviously due to profit taking. And if you go to Ghana, next door neighbor, GSE Stock Exchange, also with a market capitalization, all share index of 2,637.55 basis points there, and the market is trading flat, though in the negative territory, 0.00%. And if you go to Kenya, in Nairobi, Nairobi Stock Exchange, 105.90 basis point, almost 106 basis point there. The market is also down negative 0.02%. So it appears that the markets in Africa are actually in the negative sector, in the negative territory today. Yesterday, though we hope that this is the last trading day of the week. We hope that at the close of the market today, we will expect that there's going to be a turnaround in all this marketing sector. But again, at this period, when investors are taking profit from their investment, you have no reason to blame them, because after all, it is their money that they are putting there, that are taking part of it for probably to attend to some basic needs of life. So we take a quick break. Now, when we return back, we continue with the show. Don't go away. Glad to have you back. It's the Business Daily right here on Trust Television. Now we go straight into our discussion for the day. Nigeria orders the rest of countries in Africa slows Africa's GDP growth by 65%. That's according to McKinsey reports. Then I have joining me right here in the studio a financial analyst, Aliyu Ilyas. Glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, Nigeria play a very key role in Africa. So whatever happened to Nigeria happened to the rest of Africa. So how do you see this report coming from McKinsey?
Well, it is expected, and it's a clear information that we have been expecting. If you look at it very well, Nigeria has the highest population in Africa, and apart from that, we also have the highest GDP. So if you look at that very well, anything that happens to Nigeria negatively will definitely come back to affect Africa, and that's why Nigeria needs to do more, because most Africans are expecting us to move beyond where we are, and that's why we look at several policies. Nigeria, when you are doing policy for Nigeria, you should have the mind of other African countries, because they believe when we sneeze, others also follow. And apart from that, we also have natural resources that is not that like that available in Africa. Nigeria foreign exchange is expected to be very, very high compared to what we have in Nigeria. You know, if you look at natural resources, a lot of them, and the leading one still remain oil and gas. So how well have you really do well? And that's why most of us are happy with what Dangote is bringing. It's going to have a lot of positive effect to economy in Nigeria, because it's not only for Nigeria, it also increase the GDP of Africa as a whole.
Absolutely. So I keep wondering, what is really stunting our growth?
Well, the fact is that if you look at it from different angle, you look at our tax to GDP, that's a very thing that we need to look at. Also, we look at the level of our borrowings. You know, all these things are matters. And apart from that, we are not also attracting foreign direct investment, maybe with consequence of the insecurity that we are having. And we are not harnessing our infant industry as expected, because when Nigeria blew, other countries in Africa blew.
Absolutely. You mentioned tax to GDP, and that brought me to the report released 2 days ago by NBS that our tax to GDP is now 10.86%. That is below World Bank target of 15%. So we are still struggling as a nation.
Well, I think we should say we even try, because before it was way below. Now we are coming up gradually.
It was about 6% before.
About 6%. That's why I said it's a geometric increment, because if you look at just between 1 year, we have that. But the fact just remains that our tax to GDP in Africa is the lowest. And it's a lot of, in fact, it's funny that Nigeria with the highest population, that have working category more than other countries, that have the natural resources, is doing low in terms of tax to GDP. That reflects on how serious we are, and our laws. That's because ordinarily, Nigeria is supposed to do more. In fact, let's say...
Is it that our tax rate is low, or a lot of people are not paying?
No, our tax rate is not low, but people in the tax net is very low. Okay. And I think that's the part. When we say people in the tax net, you will discover that most personal income tax, which is what government also enjoy more, it's from mostly civil servants. So we expect company owners to be a partner to tax FIRS by making sure that they remove or they find way of getting tax from their employee. Another thing is the incentive also, because you know federal government also have to put a lot of incentive that makes Nigerians to pay tax. Then our corporate taxes. So these are the things we need. A lot of things need to be look into. Our VAT is not that bad, even though in Africa you still see we are doing very low. But bring more people into the tax net, I think that will help. So we need to decipher more technology, because recently when I saw the last Corporate Affairs Commission certificate, I discovered that once you are getting the certificate, the number of your tax thing is embedded in certificate. That's a very noble one. So we also want them to go beyond that and do more of technology to checkmate, because another area that Nigeria is not taxing is entertainment. The money we are getting in entertainment is not small in terms of contribution to GDP, but we are not taxing them appropriately. So, and this is why Nigeria has to do a structure that if you are doing an engagement, that your money crosses bank.
What about the informal sector? The informal sector is also not properly taxed.
Not at all. And that's why we say there needs to be an incentive and a structure. If it is well structured, and Nigeria is, I mean, if federal government actually structure it the way it's supposed to be, there will be a lot of tax payment, because even those informal you are talking, their money still pass through bank, right? Yes, so once your money pass through bank, it's expected that banks should also find way, or government should find way of identifying this person, the inflow, and looking at the tax, appropriate tax, and engage the person.
Yeah, probably maybe our data collection system is not effective.
If you look at our data collection, how many informal sector are even captured? Remember, most way government also do it is that they will do that, maybe farmers association, women farmer association. So when they come through that association, it becomes much easier. So government needs to look into it, and perhaps we should also avoid the double taxation, but increase our tax net.
Interesting, increase our tax net. Now, where does the problem lies? You say that our tax rate is not so high, but again, some countries think that our tax rate is very low, considering our position in Africa and, of course, the role we play around the world.
Right. You know, withholding tax is 10%, while VAT is 7.5%. Now, if you ask me, yes, we are low in Africa, but we don't need to increase tax at this point in time. Let's increase the tax net. I can tell you a lot of companies are still not in the tax net. A lot of informal sector are not in the tax net. A lot of companies are not even remitting or submitting the appropriate number of their perhaps they also want to pay low, so they don't want to also pay the tax. So government has to decipher a structure that will identify people in the informal sector, people in the formal sector, and how to really generate this tax. So the major thing is that increase the tax net. And how do you increase the tax net? Is for you to identify people that are not paying and bring them to the tax net, and also bring in technology. You know, technology has become a tool to really, but we must commend FIRS. Over time, they have increased in technology, but we want them to do more.
Interesting there. How will you juxtapose that with the cost of living? A lot of Nigerians are struggling to earn, you know, a living. But if you look at, if you think, many of them at this point, some of them, especially in the informal sector, are not paying tax. So by the time you start deducting tax from their earning, how much do you think will be left for them to take care of their families?
Government has a lot of role to play when it comes to taxation. You know why? There must be appropriate infrastructure. If I'm using my money to buy fuel, you know, I'm using my money to fix the road, I'm using my money to do, you know, even buy transformer.
So how do you
even provide your own water? You know, go to Abuja, everywhere is borehole, you know. So when I'm doing that for myself, I'll be thinking, what is the essence of me paying tax? So government needs to come on board and make sure they solve these things that have been solved over time, that are supposed to have been solved over for a long time. If they can fix those things, then for me to pay tax will be an easy ride. So we want to justify, as human being, what am I paying for? If you are paying school fees for a child, you want to see it reflecting. So when we are paying tax, we also want government to do their part. So that's the incentive they should come up with. If I have electricity that I don't need to generate it myself, I'll have to pay. If I need energy and it's within my reach, I'll be free. How can you tell a barber that run a barber shop to come and pay tax? They will think I provide everything for myself and you want me to pay tax. But if government actually do this, it can also have them in a database and request for the tax appropriately.
Quickly look at our GDP to per capita in terms of our consumption is very low, 0.8%, based on the report from McKinsey. So what do you think this government should do to increase this as we go forward?
Like I said, the thing is, for you to let people have more income, you need to also work on what is taking their purchasing power. So if you ask me now at this point in time, I want to from here to
But the government is complaining of being broke. How would they be able to pay more?
But the government should not complain of being broke with this new regime of subsidy removal. They don't have excuse again. They need to also put their thinking cap and look for revenue avenue to augment all these challenges. Government is there for them to think, because Nigeria have a lot that is untapped. And I believe this new administration should look at that direction by putting up their thinking cap, have the best economic team, and also make sure that we do more of productivity than consumption. It's very easy. Once you create the economic activities, we will have more to spend and more to make do. So government should do more on their part.
More jobs will be created.
It's one brings the other. Once you create a good enabling environment, manufacturer can access credit as expected. Not that this high interest rate, it will move on to creating employment. And when there is employment, people will have the purchasing power, people will have the ability to spend, and it will even reflect on our GDP, which is going to bring growth in the long run.
Aliyu Ilias, financial analyst, I must thank you for your time on Business Daily today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's the size of our show for the week. We'll be back on Monday, Democracy Day, June 12th, of course. For more, I am Yusuf Akogu.